Meanwhile, there's this. Crypto is in the crosshairs. The Senate Banking Committee finally moving forward with the House-passed Clarity Act, a markup vote scheduled tomorrow for the crypto framework legislation. The chairman of the committee, Tim Scott, speaking with me about it last month. Watch.
This is the best time of the game. It's going really well, and then we'll get this thing to the floor of the Senate June or July, and hopefully that means the average person in the country will be able to keep more of their money in their pocket because the speed of commerce will get faster, better, and even less expensive. This is really good news for single moms like the one that raised me because President Trump said it best. America will be the crypto capital of the world. Democratization coming your way.
And the committee revealing the final language of the bill this week, which included key compromises negotiated by lawmakers with the banks and the crypto leaders, including stablecoin rewards and protections for software developers. I spoke with the CEO of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, late yesterday on whether those issues have been resolved. Watch.
Well, there's been a compromise, and so you know it's a true compromise because both sides left a little bit unhappy. And so on this stablecoin rewards issue in particular, we met the asks of the bank lobby and the Senate, and they said they don't want to have any rewards paid on idle balances. And so we came up with this compromise or concession that rewards could be paid as long as there was some sort of material activity on the account, like a payment or a trade that had taken place. And I've got to give a lot of credit to Senators Brooks and Tillis and their staff who worked tirelessly on this to bring both sides together and reach this compromise. I think it's in the best place that we've seen so far, and the other issues that I brought up in January have also been resolved. And so at this point, we're ready to support a markup later this week.
So you're expecting the markup Thursday?
That's correct.
Yeah, and Brian, I want to get your take on this because, you know, there are other obstacles here, and I wonder what the Senate Agriculture Committee has to say about all of this. They'll weigh in as well, correct?
That's correct. There's a role here for both Senate Banking and Senate Ag. Senate Ag already had their markup earlier this year, and it did pass. Now, if the Senate Banking Committee goes through later this week, then it goes to the full Senate floor. And that's what we're hoping to have happen in the coming months, just as you saw Tim Scott mention earlier on your program.
And you've said on the call after you reported your results for the your first quarter, that this is an opportunity to help institutions onboard onto the Coinbase ecosystem. Tell us what that means. What are you expecting in terms of other institutions wanting to onboard?
Yeah, well, I go around and I speak with lots of different bank CEOs, and many of them are just leaning into this as an opportunity to grow their business. They're integrating stablecoins as fast as they can. They understand that their clients want access to crypto assets, and all these funds are now being tokenized, and it's just going to make everything more efficient in the financial system. So I truly believe that this is an opportunity for American companies, including the banks. We're very invested in their success. They're invested in our success, by the way. They've been working with us as partners in many different ways for the last 14 years. And so we're at a place now where all American companies can finally start to build this industry. My hope is that with this legislation getting through, we're all going to be able to work together a little bit more collaboratively.
Now, when you look to the full Senate in terms of backing this Clarity bill, I mean, what about these issues around conflict of interest? Because what I'm reading is that Senate Democrats, like Senator Gillibrand, are unlikely to back the bill unless it includes something about preventing top government officials and their families, including President Trump, from being involved in the crypto business, Brian.
Yeah, so I know that that's something that members of the Senate are working on. You know, this is not our issue. We're trying, frankly, to kind of stay out of it because it's just above our pay grade. My sense is that there's been so much time invested by the Senate and their staff on this issue. They're not going to let this conflict or ethics issue hold up the bill at this point, but they do need to come together and find some sort of solution in collaboration with the White House. So it's not, we're trying to stay out of it, but I do hope that that gets resolved to make sure that a full Senate vote can happen and get this on the president's desk.
Exactly, because I can't see the president signing this into law under that scenario with Christian Gillibrand talking specifically about the president and his family.
Yeah, well, my hope is there's a reasonable compromise to be made here, and I know there's active conversations going on, so we'll we'll do what we can to help, but it's not our specific issue.
Brian, let's talk about the quarter and the business. You have so many different lines of revenue, and investors want to understand better. You said in the last quarter it was a tough quarter because it was a challenging environment, but the company is handling everything that you can handle or dealing with everything that you can deal with. Tell us about the quarter, what drove business, and why was the backdrop so challenging?
Yeah, so there's some things that are in our control and some things that aren't. So one of the things that's not in our control is what the markets are doing. It's just like in traditional finance, if you tell me what the S&P 500 is going to be next quarter, and I had a crystal ball, you could probably tell me the revenue of many of these companies. So in our world, the crypto spot trading was down the last couple of quarters. But some of the new product lines that we do have control over have started to generate real revenue. So, for instance, derivatives trading is now at about a $200 million run rate. Our prediction market product that's only been live about 2 full months is now at a $100 million revenue run rate. So the things that are in our control are going quite well. We've been investing in what we call the Everything Exchange, where you can trade all asset classes, whether it's crypto, stocks, prediction markets, commodities, FX, all on one platform. We can just make that more efficient and more global. So that's what we've been investing in. We're starting to see good traction there, but we can't control what the trading markets are doing in any given quarter.
Well, it's a great point, and trading volumes across the industry were down. But Brian, I want to ask you about the Everything Exchange. Tell us where you see that. What is your vision here in terms of that being a big contributor to growth at the company? Also want to get your take on prediction markets. They're being used increasingly across the board, so much so that they're a separate legislation being talked about right now in terms of overseeing the prediction markets. Start with the Everything Exchange, Brian. What is the potential growth here?
Yeah, well, we believe that crypto is a technology that's updating all aspects of the financial system, and trading is a core pillar of that. So it started off with people trading things like Bitcoin and Ethereum, these kinds of assets, but increasingly they are trading commodities, stocks in various forms, and derivatives are now coming on chain. Prediction markets are a big one. We're seeing foreign exchange or FX markets, and so the thing about crypto is that it can just make everything in finance more efficient. So you can have lower fees. It can be operating 24/7 instead of just a few hours during the weekdays. It can be giving access to people all over the world. There's about 4 billion people who don't have access to any bank or brokerage at all. So it's kind of a democratizing access to financial services. And I think it'll just make capital markets more efficient. By the way, it'll make it easier for people to raise money if they want to start a business or build some real estate project or make a film. So capital formation is something that could also become much more efficient. So our goal is to bring all these asset classes onto one platform where you can trade with great capital efficiency, deep liquidity, and we're doing that globally. That's what we call the Everything Exchange.
That's amazing, and it is beginning to contribute to the overall growth story. What about tokenization and payments, Brian? How do you see that developing in the coming, I don't know, let's call it year or 3?
Yeah, so you're right. Like, the trading was really the first killer use case for crypto, but now we're seeing stablecoins grow like crazy. We're seeing tokenization take off as well. I think there's some estimates that it'll be about 30 trillion by the year 2030 or something like that. So these are just other examples of how crypto is updating the financial system. Just to give you a specific example on the payment side, today it's pretty expensive to make payments or slow, right? I mean, if you're swiping a credit card, the merchant is losing 2 to 3% on that transaction. If you're sending a wire transfer, it can take, half a day and cost $50. And so if you look at the 3 ways I like to look at payments: are they fast, are they cheap, and are they global? Do they work in every country of the world? And crypto rails are the only ones that check all 3 of those boxes. So you could now send USDC, for instance, anywhere in the world in under 1 second for less than 1 cent US, and it works in every country of the world. So these are the most efficient payment rails. It's also great for tokenization, and so we're just going to keep updating the financial system and make sure that this can be built here in America.
So how is Coinbase One changing the economics of your business right now?
Yeah, well, for those who don't know, Coinbase One is our subscription program. It allows people to get zero-fee trading, better rewards on various programs. So it's a little bit like, Amazon Prime is something that people compare it to as an example. What it does is it shifts our revenue from being around trading fees, which, as we talked about earlier, can be a little volatile and unpredictable quarter to quarter, to be more predictable as a subscription and services program. So about half our revenue is from trading fees. The other half is now from what we call subscription and services. By the way, 5 years ago, it was like 95% trading fees and 5% subscription and services. So we're seeing a more predictable revenue stream from subscription and services. That's giving us a better multiple in the public markets on that type of revenue.
And you're also keeping a hold on expenses. Tell me about the expense side of the business here. In a challenging environment, does that become even more in focus? Are you expecting to get expenses down in the coming years or up?
Yeah, so we definitely are focused on costs in this environment especially, and want to make sure we're always running a lean and healthy company. So, actually last week we did make a decision to reduce headcount by about 14%. This was partially because we saw crypto spot markets were down, but it's also, frankly, because we're seeing that the company can run more efficiently with AI. We've roughly doubled the output of how quickly we're shipping software per engineers over just the last year, and it's kind of in this like vertical takeoff scenario. So I think very soon we're going to be able to run these software companies more efficiently. I think our expenses will be roughly flat year over year at this point, and we'll just get a whole lot more done.
And you, of course, wrote to employees in a letter on X. You made that public in terms of speaking to them with those cutbacks and those job cuts. Tell us about AI. You mentioned AI in terms of ensuring that things are that much more productive. How significant will AI be in terms of running your business overall?
Incredibly significant. I mean, I think we're in some people might call it a hard takeoff scenario for AGI. The pace of improvement is pretty staggering, and we're seeing it across our business. Of course, on software development, we've roughly doubled the output year over year that we can do per engineer. But we've also seen this in our customer support program. Roughly 2/3 of our support requests are able to be answered by AI now, but of course you can still talk to a human whenever you want to. Our compliance tools are also getting much more automated. I mean, historically, we've had to employ thousands of people and contractors to process various queues and do reviews. A lot of that work, the drudgery of it, the tasks that can be taken off people's plate has gotten dramatically better, and we're able to operate that more efficiently. So it really like frees people up, human beings, to go work on higher ROI tasks, and so it takes tasks off their plate.
And of course, at the end of the day, it's also saving you money. What's the overall savings, would you say, given these cutbacks that you've announced of the 14% in job cuts? What's the bottom line?
Yeah, well, it'll change our cost picture in the hundreds of millions this year, but we don't want to give necessarily any kind of forward-looking statement on that going forward. But just the changes that we've made so far that we announced earlier this week, or last week, it'll be in the hundreds of millions of savings at least this year.
Talk to us about the regulatory market, the regulatory backdrop, even beyond just what we were talking about in the Clarity Act, because you're also talking about new conversations, new language around prediction markets. What are you expecting?
Well, prediction markets, I think, are another very exciting innovation that's happening with crypto and in other areas. It's really allowing people to get a sense of what is true in the world, what is going to happen next. And you know better than anybody else. I mean, there's lots of different media programs out there. There's social media. People are trying to figure out what is true in the world, what's misinformation, right? And everybody has their own bias when they're putting out a story or an article or anything like that. So people are looking at prediction markets as a way to figure out, okay, let me get some real signal here. What do we think is going to happen? Is the Strait of Hormuz going to be opened in the coming months so I can run my ships through there? Is this particular tax going to pass in California, or do people have to move out of the state? What is the SpaceX IPO price going to be at, so I can think about whether I want to, sell it or buy more? This is the kind of thing that people are looking to prediction markets for, to get real signal, and people have real skin in the game who are making these predictions on the platform. So we've integrated prediction markets natively into the Coinbase app. As I mentioned, it's now a $100 million revenue product for us after just 2 full months. It's growing like crazy. And I think it's an important thing. Now, there are challenges with prediction markets, which you alluded to. Like there's lots of types of contracts that maybe we don't want out there, that involve particular military personnel or sensitive information, or, these like assassination markets or whatever people are concerned about. I know that Chair Selig at the CFTC is very thoughtful on this issue, and he's made it clear that he won't tolerate any sort of insider trading that people are doing. There's been several cases brought against that. So I think we need to install in the public consciousness this idea, kind of like we have in traditional securities, that insider trading is not going to be allowed, but these products have real positive externalities for society, and it helps people manage their business. What's going to happen in the future? We need real signal on that.
Yeah, no, it's extraordinary. Truly, Brian, another huge opportunity for Coinbase and the industry overall as we watch what kind of regulatory backdrop is forming. Now, Coinbase is also partnering with Better, a mortgage lending company, to power the first ever crypto-backed mortgages. Potential homeowners will be able to use Bitcoin or US dollar stablecoin to fund a down payment in an effort to give Americans a new path toward home ownership. Tell us about this and how you monetize that.
Yeah, so mortgages are just one more way that the crypto is going to update the financial system. In this case, we did partner with Better on this, and we have lots of customers that have lots of Bitcoin and other crypto assets, and they want to go buy a home. They don't want to have to sell their Bitcoin to do that, and so these Bitcoin-backed mortgages are a great way for this, in many cases, younger generation to go start the home ownership process. Now, over time, we think that mortgages can actually come on chain and get even more efficient and lower costs and these kinds of things. But this is our first step into mortgages with this great partner, Better.
So after the volumes that we saw under pressure in the first quarter, Brian, how do volumes look to you right now?
Well, things have been trending up in the last few weeks or month or so. I think hopefully we've seen the bottom on this recent winter with Bitcoin touching 60K or so. It's back up to about 80K now. I think certainly this legislation that hopefully gets to a markup later this week could be a very strong positive signal for many people out there. But and then I'd say just like the other things that are really starting to work in crypto, right? Like stablecoins and prediction markets and tokenization. These are all tailwinds that I think will drive the crypto prices over the coming years.
Yeah, but Brian, let's not forget, you've identified lots of growth stories and have put everything in under your umbrella, but now you've got competitors. And more competitors will emerge, particularly potentially strong competitors from the banking sector. How do you view the competition ahead?
Yeah, well, our mission really is to increase economic freedom in the world, and to do that, we need to have thousands of companies all over the world integrate with crypto and help build this next financial system. So in general, we are very supportive of everybody coming in. We want to support the banks in making this great for their business. 5 of the top 20 banks in the US, for instance, we're powering integrations for them. And that's the key thing for people to understand, is that Coinbase can participate in this value chain by selling services to all the companies coming in and now integrating crypto. So we have something called Coinbase Developer Platform, which provides custody and trading and payments APIs and all kinds of things that any company can now integrate crypto. And we're partnering with banks. We're also partnering with social media companies and fintechs and neobanks and all kinds of folks that want to integrate these new, more efficient rails.
Well, all of this as you're looking more and more like a bank, by the way. You're doing a lot of the same things that the bank is doing, but you're not FDIC insured. You're not going to face the same regulatory backdrop, right?
Yeah, so a bank license is something we've not currently chosen to pursue. The reason is that a bank license is really most useful if you want to do fractional reserve lending, which we've talked about previously on your program. And that's not something that we feel good about, that we don't feel like we need to do that. We do have an OCC trust charter that we applied for. Now, that's 100% reserve, and it's there. So these things like FDIC insurance become less relevant if there's, if 100% of the funds are stored there, it's audited by Deloitte, et cetera. The situation of a bank run doesn't make sense in a 100% reserve scenario. So that's what we've chosen to do, is we're not going to pursue a bank license at this time. We're going to keep 100% reserve. I think that's better for the customer. Now, if the customer wants to opt into lending out their funds and earn some good yield on that, those are products that we can offer. But we're not going to do fractional reserve. What
an incredibly exciting time for you and the company, Brian. Thanks so much for walking us through it. Congratulations, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you.